All right, everybody, we are going to go ahead and get started. If you want to go ahead and take your seats. Welcome to our March Westbank Real Estate Investors Meetup. Right, tonight's episode is sponsored by LeaseCo for real estate investors who need assistance with leasing, from marketing all the way to move-ins. Text LeaseCo 504-606-1304, and Homebuyer Louisiana, real estate investors looking for wholesale deals from Louisiana, Baton Rouge, Mississippi. Make sure you contact Homebuyer Louisiana for wholesale deals. Okay, so on tonight we have very special guests and even more special guests in addition to that. So tonight we have Chris Rood. So Steve made sure that this happened for sure. So I don't know exactly what the content, the chokehold, but he enjoys you and made sure that he said that we had to have you. So a little bit about you. So you're not just an investor, a deal-making machine. This is what ChatGPT said about you. Chris Rood isn't just an investor. He's a deal-making machine, from trailer parks to multifamily, fix and flips to wholesaling. He's built an empire, and it doesn't just stop there. He owns mechanic shops, oil change stations, and runs a high-level real estate mastermind, coaching investors just like us. That's our prompt from ChatGPT.
I like ChatGPT.
So everybody put your hands together for the deal-making machine, Chris Rood, and his wife, Patti Rood, which I'm excited about getting that perspective. So with an introduction like that, we know as entrepreneurs that it is a team sport, but it's also a family business. No matter how much you think you're the breadwinner, no matter how much you think you're a lone wolf, you still have to come home to somebody each and every night, right? Mm-hmm. So Chris, we normally start off with the question with everybody: how did you even get started into real estate? And then Patti, I want to ask you what that story looked like from your perspective when he was bringing these stories back home to you, right? Okay. So Chris, how did you even get started in real estate?
All right, well, I would tell you that I cut my teeth. Can you guys hear me all right? I didn't start off in real estate as my business career. You know, like a lot of you in here, how many entrepreneurs we have in here? Raise your hand. Everyone, you should raise your hand if you're here, you're an entrepreneur. I was a little off when I was younger, just like all of y'all. If you're here, you're off.
It's not just a little off. It's like a lot off.
Yeah, you have problems, right? Yeah. Growing up in school, I was hard-headed, very eccentric, high energy. Unfortunately, put on medication when I was 6 years old. Ritalin, Adderall, pretty much made me zombied out. Turned me into pretty much a drug addict by the time I was 22 years old. So I don't put any kids on those psychotropic drugs. Terrible for you. Whack you out of your mind. You know, those kids don't have learning disabilities. Those kids are just wired different. That's your entrepreneurs of the world, by the way. I'm getting off topic, but I wanted you to know my background because I think a lot of you guys can relate to that. A lot of you guys are probably like that. You're 90 to nothing. So got put on drugs. By the time I was 22, I was a wild man. I was partying, doing drugs, wasn't really a good person. But I knew that I need to straighten up. I checked myself into rehab when I was 22 years old. She was going to leave me. We had 2 kids. My whole family's about to ostracize me. So I checked myself into rehab and got clean. I never touched another drug again. I hadn't touched drugs for 22 years. So once I did that, I turned into a personal development junkie because I got back my life, because from 6 years old I had been on drugs and I didn't know what normal, I didn't know what it felt like to be normal. And I finally got back my spirit of play, my enthusiasm for life. And I needed an outlet. I needed an outlet to express that. So I started doing let's get this figured out. Once I got through that drug rehabilitation program, you know, I felt like I was like, okay, this improved my life, so I just want to keep improving my life. So I started taking every business class I can take. I joined a mastermind when I was 22 years old, when I was in college, called WISE. I was the youngest guy in there. The youngest guy after me was 40 years old. So I ate it all up. I started taking classes after class. Every night, you know, I would come home. Every day, 3 to 4 days a week, I would go from work or school to work to take business classes.
So education and personal development was the new drug, right?
Right. That was my new drug. I wanted to start a business. So I was like, because I was hard-headed. I just couldn't listen to people telling me what to do. I couldn't make sense of people staying at a job.
Hard-headed.
Making, you know, back then, this is 2003 or 4. I couldn't make sense of going to get a job making, you know, $8-10 an hour. So I was like, I want to start a business. And I didn't know what I was going to do. I really didn't have any skills. I just had a lot of drive and a lot of energy. So I just started thinking about, how can I figure out a business? Well, one day I was working for my dad at the time. He said, go get the oil changed in the truck. And I went to take the truck to get the oil changed, and people were complaining about, you know, how long it was going to take. And I started thinking, I was like, man, I bet, you know, it didn't take a rocket scientist on how to change oil. So I was like, I bet you if I just go and get some cards and I hand them out to everybody where they work and where they live, I bet you I can make a business, because I can do on-site, so they don't have to go and I'd save them some time. That would create a lot of value. So I told my dad about it. He's like, well, do it, son. So I borrowed $120 from him. And I didn't even know how to change oil. He let me. I changed my first oil on my dad's truck. I was like, this is easy, oil and filter. Okay, let's roll. Got an oil bin, some filter wrenches, and bought 1,000 business cards. And I was like, my dad said, well, what are you going to name it? I said, shit, I don't know. Rood Lube. He said, son, you going to name it Rood Lube? I said, yeah, I'm going to name it Rood Lube. You hadn't been lubed till you've been Rood Lubed.
That's right.
And that was my motto. And that's what I put on the back of my shirt. That's how I think, right?
Yeah.
And I put that on my shirt, and it was catchy. You know, people, so I'd go around and hand out business cards. I literally would hit one street in Lafayette, and I would go up and down, business to business, door to door, handing out cards and knocking doors. And I would do that in between going to UL in Lafayette to college until I'd drum up a bunch of business. And when they'd call me, I'd go in there, I'd change it all, and then it spread like wildfire. I ended up picking up a ton of fleet accounts. So we're heavy oil and gas in Lafayette, and I had about a dozen accounts where they had anywhere from 10 to, I had one account, Pathfinder, they had 100 vehicles, and I got all those accounts. So I would go in between classes, change, 10, 15, 20 oil changes, and eventually started upselling them into air filters, wiper blades. Then I got into rock chip repairs, auto glass replacements. So I started diversifying inside of one vertical, right? So I'd get to one vehicle, instead of just changing it all for $35, I'd end up having a ticket average of $250 to $300 because we were detailing their vehicles, leather conditioner, wax, rock chips. So by the time I graduated college, fast forward 2 years later, my senior year when I graduated UL in 2005, I was making $120,000 a year. For 20, I was 22 when I graduated? 23? 24, yeah, I was a late bloomer. 24, graduating high school, or college, sorry. My buddies were going to get a job to make 30, 40 grand a year, and I was like, I ain't getting a job. I'm gonna just keep doing this. 120. That was a lot of money for back in 2005 for a 25-year-old. So I pushed hard on that. I got a couple trucks and trailers, had a couple employees helping me. I did that until I felt like I hit a brick wall where I couldn't scale that. It was, it's not scalable. So I said, I need a physical location. And I started putting out feelers on, just talking to people, right? I just communicating, just talking, hey, anybody has a mechanic shop or a quick lube? Well, I found out that they had a a quick lube, the oldest quick lube in Lafayette off of Moss Street. It was like 45 years old. It was the first quick lube ever built. That the guy that was running it was missing payments to the landlord. And I caught wind of it. So I figured out who the landlord was. And I went talk to him first to try to sell me, the business. And he was like, yeah, give me $250,000. Well, he didn't know that I knew he wasn't paying rent. So what do you think I did? I went straight to the landlord and I said, hey, I'll give you $1,000 more than what he's paying. And she kicked him out and I got the business for free. Right? You call that shady, you call that whatever. That's called business. That's called strategic advantage. That's called, taking advantage of an opportunity. So he wasn't paying rent. He was 2 months behind. So I had enough of him. They kicked him out, gave me the opportunity. I was a young man. And, I brought my wife with me and we talked to her and we sold her. We would make it go right. I already had a successful business. Got into that shop. I doubled my income. I actually tripled my income because I didn't have to go around chasing everybody. Did that for about 8 months and I was ready for another shop. I was like, this is old. I'm ready to expand again. So I put more feelers out. I want to buy another shop. And I caught wind of another shop owner that was on drugs and wasn't, he wasn't paying his employees. He was on drugs and he wasn't paying his taxes. And I knew that the state was going to shut him down. So I went to talk to him about buying his place. And he said, okay, well, make me an offer. And I made him an offer, but he went and got an offer from somebody else. And he told me what the offer was. And looking back, that was stupid. I should have never did. I offered him $100,000 more than what the other guy offered because I was so hungry. I wanted to be successful. I wanted to do something in my life. And looking back now, like I was stupid because I steal properties today. I would never overpay $100,000 for a property today, right? So anyway, I end up offering him that. I got the deal. It didn't even appraise for what I offered him because I offered him $100,000 more than when he wanted. So he had the owner finance that extra piece. But now I had to come up with, and this was an $860,000 shop. Keep in mind, I'm 24 years old. I had to come up with 10% of $840,000. Actually, it was 15% because I went and got an SBA loan at 24 years old and had to come up and said, hey, we're going to approve you. But now you got to come up with $125,000. And this is where my real estate journey started. So I was like, shit, I don't have $125,000. I think I had $7,000 to my name. But what I did have is I had a house that I had built 4 years prior, and this is 2007, 3 months before the 2008 real estate crash. And I'm telling you guys the story because this is all going to tie into the whole story of my journeys that you can learn. So just bear with me on this story. Well, I told Patty, I said, listen, the market's on fire, like it's crazy. Like all these flip my house shows were going on and stuff. I was like, let's just flip her house and we can maybe make the money that we need to get the down payment. So we ended up painting our house, putting her for sale. We sold that house 30 days later and made $126,000. $1,000. No, I'm sorry.
You also forgot that Katrina had just happened and everybody was moving out of New Orleans.
Yeah, that's right. Katrina.
It was 2005. I had to look it up. And that's when we sold.
We sold in 2005?
We sold, yep. It was right after that.
It was in 2007?
I think it was 06.
Okay, well, that's how old I am. I can't remember my full dates.
Because all the people were moving in from Katrina, and the prices went up in our area.
Yeah, y'all remember 2006 and 7. Who was in real estate in 2006 and 7? It was bananas. It was like 2021 for real estate. Mm-hmm. So the market went up, but I needed the money, so we put it for sale. It sold within 30 days. We made $126,000, the exact amount of money. You remember that?
Yep.
It was literally the exact amount of money we needed for the down payment for the SBA loan. So it was taking a big step. My parents thought I was crazy. It's like, you selling your house? You doing this? Yeah. I put the money down, and I just borrowed $860,000 as a 24-year-old. Bought that shop. I doubled my income again. I was like, fuck, okay, this is great. I keep going and I'm changed. That was my first real estate experience. So timing is everything, right? When things are really good, you better actually tell yourself, hey, things are really good. I should probably sell. And when things are really bad, you should tell yourself, hey, I probably shouldn't quit because it's probably going to get good again. Kind of like where we are now. I'm telling you stories so you can understand the cycles. Everything is cycles. I wish somebody had told me this as a young man. I didn't know what I was doing. I just so happened to time it right. A lot of this game is not about being smart. It's about timing and cycles and knowing where you're at in the business cycle. So bought that shop, that second shop. 2008 hit. 2 hurricanes had hit, and I just opened up a third shop that I didn't bought. It was in Brobridge, that little shop.
Yeah.
We opened up a third shop right not too long after I'd opened up that second shop, and 2 hurricanes hit Lafayette back to back. And I had a large payroll at the time. I had $30,000 a month in payroll, and it wiped me out for we were shut down for 2 weeks, and it crippled me because I had people on salary, and I still paid them, even though we weren't even open, and I didn't have the money, and that really crippled me. And I got to zero. I had no more money. I didn't know what I was going to do, so I literally fired everybody and just kept my key players and worked like mad dogs to work ourselves out of it because I thought I was going to go bankrupt. I mean, it was really, really tough times. I had panic. I lost about 30 pounds, and I couldn't sleep. And I was it was the first time I felt like everything was out of control. Who's ever had that feeling in business? Okay, only a few people. Something's wrong with y'all. Y'all ain't pushing hard enough. You got to feel that pain.
Well, we had just had a third child,
That's right.
too, so he didn't tell me any of this was going on because I was already crazy because I just had, I had 3 boys in a row, and I had no idea, which I'm so glad, looking back, that I had no idea because I was already nuts. But
I had no money, 0 money. You know how bad it was? I called my mama crying. That's how bad it was, and I was a 25-year-old man with 3 kids. I don't remember. That's probably the last time I cried. I was 25 years. I called my mom. I didn't know what to do. I said, Mom, I fucked up, Mama. I don't know what to do. And that's a low place. It's scary, right? So she said, you know what, Chris? We've been they're in business too. She said, look, we're going to try to help you out. They opened up a line of credit for me to, just make payroll and stuff. So I ended up, they gave me a $30,000 line of credit to give access to, and they helped me out.
I did not know that.
You didn't know that?
No.
Yeah. Well, what are you going to ask you for?
Westbank exclusive right there. So
I didn't have
Westbank
the money
exclusive.
either,
So she gave me access to a $30,000, which really not a lot of money. I had $30,000 a month in just payroll. That was really just. I didn't tell her that. She's like, well, we can help you out with the line of credit. You're going to have to pay it back. She didn't give me the money. It was a line of credit that I had to pay back. So just so you know. And my payroll was $30,000 a month. So she spared me 1 month. Mm-hmm. So what did I do? I economized. I got rid of all I fired all those people that were on salary that were just, high on the hog. And I did everything myself with just 1 or 2 key guys at each shop. And we slowly worked our way out of it. And it took me a year to get out of that hole, and I did. I paid back the line of credit and kissed and hugged my mama, and it was great, and I paid her back. So, but that was my first panic where I'm going to probably have to give the shop back and maybe file bankruptcy. Pushed through that, economy improved, just like we're going to see now. The economy is going to start improving. Who's seen a slight increase in the real estate? Of course you have. Consumer confidence is up. We're in March. We're coming out of a cycle. So. Stupid me when I go buy another shop. I went and bought a 4th shop. Another opportunity came up. I was good at what I was doing. I knew how to sell and I had a good process and system. I bought a 4th shop. Let me back up though, because the 4th shop I bought, guess how I got the money to get that 4th shop? I flipped the house that I was in again, right? The house I was in, when we sold that house, I made $126,000. We bought a foreclosure in Youngsville, Louisiana. Lived in that 18 months, rehabbed it, sold that, made $70,000. I used that to buy another shop. So here's another key lesson: always invest. Every penny you get as a young man or as a young woman, you keep putting it into assets, into your business, into your mindset. When I was 24 years old or 23 years old, I borrowed $25,000. She knows I borrowed from the bank $25,000 to do a bunch of business stuff. She thought I was batshit crazy. We almost got divorced over it. But I borrowed $25,000 I did not have to go put into my mind. And I'm not saying that you guys got to go do all this. I'm just telling you how I think. What do young men or young women do these days when they make money?
Go buy cool cars.
They go buy a bunch of bullshit, right? How many people see on Instagram, with the Ferraris and the Lambo? I could have went and bought a Ferrari or a Lambo when I was 25 years old with that $125,000, right? Or just buy junk, garbage. So it's another lesson. Always constantly invest. Keep putting money into your mind. Keep putting money into things that keep going up in value. So I got those 4 shops. We did really good. Business picked up. I made a lot of money from 2009 to, I'd say, 2012. That was about 2008 to 2012. I did pretty good. Made a lot of money. I got burned out with all the shops. I got her pregnant for the 4th or 5th time.
You got burnt out. I was burnt out.
She got me pregnant for the 4th or 5th time. And, it was tough on her, right? It was really tough on her. I'm working 6 days a week at a mechanic shop, and I kid you not, I told you this story. I walked in the house one day. I had a rough day. I walk in, my 2 oldest boys are fist fighting in that corner. My baby just shit on the floor and took off his diaper, and he's crying because the turd was scaring him. This is the true story. She knows. My daughter's brushing the teeth of her dog with a toothbrush and brushing his hair. My wife she looks at me and says, I ain't fucking doing this no more. And that's when I knew I needed, it was time. I had to do something or I was going to kill my wife.
I was going to kill you.
Even her dad said, he pulled me over and he says, are you trying to kill my daughter? He looked at me just like that and he told me that.
Our first 3 sons were so bad.
Bad.
So bad.
So
just like him.
Yeah, and they get that from me. So yeah. I knew I needed to change. I couldn't work 6 days a week, and because I created this mess. I wanted 5 kids. She actually made an appointment for me to get fixed after the 3rd kid, and I skipped it. And she got pregnant
2 more times.
She got pregnant that next month. Made another appointment for me for after that, I skipped that again, and 3 months later, she got pregnant again. Well, she had a nervous breakdown after that 5th kid, like a true nervous breakdown where she lost all control. And it scared me. Mm-hmm. Like, you ever see, how many of you guys in here are married? Have you ever seen that crazy look in your wife where it scares you? Like, where it's like, oh shit. Like a psycho. I've never seen that in her. I was like, I fucked up. I said, okay, baby, I'm gonna start cooking, cleaning. I learned how to cook from my wife having her 5th kid. I learned how to cook. Yeah. Kid you not. So that's around the time I said I got to make a change. I started reevaluating my whole life. When I go to the shop, I said, "Listen, Pat, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to figure out. I'm not going to be own these mechanic shops and quick lubes anymore." Went back at the shop. I started just going on YouTube University and looking at. I typed in, real estate investing because I told myself shit, real estate got me here. Real estate can get me out of this. So I typed that in. And I saw this one particular black guy. He called himself, y'all probably know him. It was a black guy. He would call himself, I'm not a guru, I'm a duru. Yes, that's him. Who said that? That's it. That's him. This is like 12 years ago. Yeah. I'm watching all his stuff on YouTube. And he's showing checks at 30 grand, 20 grand. And he's like, I'm wholesaling houses. I'm like, wholesaling houses? How the hell you wholesale a house? I knew how to flip a house. I did that before. But he's like, yeah, you just put it in I watched all his content, and I did my first deal off of his content. I'd like to meet him one day and shake his hand. I learned off of YouTube University from him. But anyway, I did my first deal. Well, let me back up, though. Let me back up, because I missed a big part of investing that really messed me up, and probably messes a lot of you guys up. 2010... I had made a bunch of money and I had a tax liability and I wanted to get back into real estate. So I ended up, saying I'm going to buy a bunch of rental properties so I can live off of my cash flow, because rental properties are passive income, right? Boy, was I wrong. Well, I ended up going, and I made a lot of money. I mean, had $500,000 in cash I wanted to invest. I bought 33 single-family homes. I didn't know what I was doing.
I told you, I was like, I'm not, all my family they buy low-income homes. He was buying like pretty nice property.
I was buying bougie stuff.
I was like, you sure? I don't know. It doesn't feel right. Like, it didn't work.
Yeah, I ended up buying $150,000 to $200,000 houses because I just didn't want to be a slumlord, is what I told myself. And Patty's like, no, that's what you should be doing. That's the best rental income that you want. I was like, no, I'm not.
I didn't want him to be a slumlord. I wanted him to buy a
lower end. I say slumlord. Lower end properties.
Yeah.
So I ended up buying.
And Patty is not in the business yet.
No.
Okay.
No, but I always loved real estate. So once he started like getting the itch to buy, it was exciting for me because I was like, I didn't want nothing to do with the oil change shops, nothing to do with it. But the real estate I got excited about. But I always felt like those houses we bought were just too nice. Yeah.
Well, so I ended up buying 33 single family homes. I bought about $3.5 million worth of debt, and within about I started doing that in 2010, 11-ish, and I bought those all the way up to 2013, 14. But you know how I bought all those houses? On MLS.
Yep. Made the realtor rich.
Yeah. And I got all my real estate financial information from my who?
Realtor.
My realtor. You know how rich my realtor is in real estate? 0. You're getting all your information from somebody that's not a real estate investor. That's your first mistake. And God bless her, I love her to this day, but I mean, she's trying to make a paycheck. I get it. But, I bought 33 single-family homes from her, just making a bunch of offers, buying at 80, 90 cents on the dollar, which you may think is a good deal, but if you really want to be a pro with this, 80 to 90 cents on the dollar is for amateurs, guys. And we're going to get into that. So ended up buying those. Well, 2004, and I filled all those up. 2014 came, and the oil field, and for you guys, the oil field's not too big around here, is it? New Orleans, it's a lot bigger in Lafayette. Well, oil went from. Yeah, we feel the down more than y'all do. 2014 hit. Oil went from $128 a barrel to $28 a barrel. We lost tens of thousands of high-paying jobs. Damn near almost half of my rentals went under. They moved out because they were all related to the oil field. My shops, so this is the second time I was about to go bankrupt, by the way. All my shops started losing revenue every quarter. I had a bunch of fleet accounts. All these oil field companies were going out of business, and they were moving back to Texas or going bankrupt. It was brutal. This is the second time I had started to have a panic attack, right? At the same time, my wife had 5 kids, and she was having a panic attack, and I'm having to learn how to cook, clean, refigure out my life, and I was losing $20,000 a month between my shops and all my rentals.
Patty, you knew that? You knew that he was losing $20,000 a month?
I didn't know the number.
I just told her it was bad. I didn't tell her how bad.
Yeah. And it was already bad for me.
It was already bad. I mean, listen, I'm going to be honest with you. It's easier to run a business than raise 5 kids with a bunch of babies at home. Let's be real. You need to give your wife some grace. Yeah. When you come home, I'm stressed out from jobs. Yeah, go try to chase 5 little badass boys all day in your house. So give your wife some grace. So anyway, my shops are losing $20,000 a month. I'm like, what the hell am I going to do now? Boy, I really got myself in a pickle. Then I started watching the YouTube, and I started watching, what's his name? Assad. And I ended up learning how to wholesale. So those houses that I had bought, I had just enough equity to wholesale one of them. I made $2,500 on my first house. But I watched all his stuff, and I was like, okay, this is real. I made $2,500 on my first deal. So I went and hired mentors. I hired 3 mentors back to back to back. I paid them each $5,000, put it on my credit card. My first mentor, Fabian Calvo, stole $50,000 from me. Yeah. He got my American Express on file, and he would charge stuff over the next year, tires, brakes, restaurants in California. He got on, and he was actually a good mentor. He got on heroin, or what was that? Was that substitute? Not meth. What's the substitute for heroin? Opiates back then. What was it called? Oxycontin. He got on Oxycontin right around the time I hired him, so I just timed him bad, back to timing. And he stole all that money from me, and I, God bless his soul, I put him in jail. I called a private detective, put his ass in jail, got back a little bit of my money, not much. Second and third mentors were great. I learned a lot. Got the right information, and this is 2014. I went and I implemented, I took action. This is another real pertinent point for you guys. When you get information that's accurate and it works, you don't need to think about it no more. You move, right? I took action. I was like, I'm going to do the cheapest marketing I can do to try to generate motivated seller leads. And I'm not saying to do this now because you can't do this no more. But I bought 400 bandit signs, right? And I literally put 400 bandit signs out. And this is back in 2014. Like I said, you can't get away with this anymore. I was doing that every month. They almost put me in jail a year or two later because you could not go down a street in Lafayette without seeing one of my signs. Mm-hmm. Every single day I would wake up, put bandit signs out, and I would statistically stat how many signs I put out, and I held myself accountable every single day, 7 days a week, because I know my ass was on the line. I made so much money from 2014 to 2016 putting bandit signs out. I was able to, walk away from my shops. I put all of my shops for sale, every single one of them, because I started off making 40, 50 grand a month. I was losing $20,000 a month. Wholesaling kept me from going bankrupt. I should have went bankrupt in 2014. But then I started making 40, 50, 60, 80. Then I started having 6-figure months. When I got to the point where I was consistently hitting 50 grand a month, I put all my shops for sale. I had 4 shops at the time. I was lucky to make 20, 30 grand a month, and I was managing 33 people, doing 100 cars a day. You know how many brake jobs, tune-ups, and car washes and rock chip repairs that I have to do to make $50,000, $60,000, $80,000 a month? Dude, I was doing that by myself. I was like, I'm in the wrong business. That's not a light bulb, but I'm in the wrong business. Put all my shops for sale. I got lucky. I got the biggest quick lube mechanic shop in the country. Express Oil bought me out. I made a lot of money on that deal. Yeah, and ended up selling another shop. I sold all the shops except for one. I ended up 1031 exchange, and who here knows what a 1031 exchange is? Everybody should know what a 1031 exchange is. So I did not pay taxes legally, morally, and ethically. Made a bunch of money. I bought, let me back up, because Patty and I, when we were 22, watched The Secret. Who ever heard of The Secret? That's real, folks. The power of visualization, power of intention. We wrote down a vision board of everything we wanted. And on that board was that we wanted a beach house in Destin. And sure enough, the exact beach house we wanted, it looked like it has a wraparound porch. It's the only wraparound porch in that whole area. We ended up buying, with the money that we ended up making from the buyout. So fast forward, put the shops for sale. I started making a ton of money. And because what you understand is when the market gets really bad, wholesaling gets pretty good. But interest rates were still low in 2014, because you probably asked them, well, why wholesaling hadn't been that great the past 2 years? Because, well, interest rates are still too high. But if interest rates get low and you have a bad economy, because I pay attention to these statistical data, you can take it to the bank, wholesaling will get really good. Flipping won't be that great. But wholesale, if interest rates get into 5s or 6 and the economy's bad, the deals will float to the top. So I ended up selling off all the shops except for one. I was doing so well in their coaching program, they asked me to go work in their sales department with their sales team, because I was posting $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 checks. I said, yeah, I'll go work in there. And I ended up making, they were paying me 10, 15 grand, about 10, 12 grand a month to go coach for them, because I was good at selling. I was good at the game. And as I was posting all these checks, people, were inboxing me to help them with their game. And I'm sitting there, I'm selling for them, but I'm actually coaching their students too. I'm like, well, shit, I'm a businessman. I mean, and then I figured I was a lot better at this than my coaches. And I was like, well, I'm just gonna start a coaching company. And I started a coaching company and training people. And what I ended up doing is I got, I cherry picked the best students out of my program, and I started partnering with them. And then that's how I blew up. I took the best markets. I think, is the mic off? I took
Is it? Help us out, Delane.
I took the best. Can you guys hear me? I took the best students in the best markets, and I started partnering with them. There we go. It's back. I started partnering with them, and that's how I scaled all over the country, mostly the South. From there, I started making a bunch of money again. And I know this is a long-winded story. It all has lessons, and we're going to get to the end, and it's going to all make sense. I started making a bunch of money again, and I pulled myself out of that shithole I was in of almost going bankrupt, not for the second time. And I have a serious tax problem again. And now I need to buy some rental property again. But I didn't want to go at it the same way because I learned a lesson. Well, I was like, shit, I don't know what asset class I want to get into. Let me just think about it. Well, when you think about stuff, you attract what you think about. Whatever you want, you're gonna figure it out if you think about it. Well, I'm sitting there getting a haircut, and I look in Wealth magazine, some kind of magazine, had a picture of Warren Buffett, and he says, "Mobile homes, the wave of the future." This is 2016, 17. Yeah, I bought my first park one in 2007. It's 2017. And I was like, shit, mobile homes. Shit, there's mobile homes all over South Louisiana. I picked it up, and Warren Buffett, he had just bought out Clayton Mobile Homes. Y'all heard of Clayton? He had just bought it out. And he starts naming out, and this is 2007, this is how genius Warren Buffett is. He's a visionary. He can see into the future. He starts naming all these stats that are happening today. He's like, inflation will get too high. Student debt will get out of control. Income will not be able to keep up with the cost of living. So what's going to happen? People are going to have to buy mobile homes. That's why he ended up buying Clayton Mobile Homes. I was like, shit, that makes a lot of sense. I said, I'm going to be a mobile home park investor. And I told my wife that. And sure enough, after I told her that, I kid you not, a week later, I'm walking down this aisle where I work out at a gym called Reds, and this realtor walks by that I talk to and cut up with every day when I see him. He says, shit, Rood, I got this asset, this property, I don't even know what to do with it. It's a damn mobile home park. And I just read that article a week before. Crazy, right? I was like, he goes, you buy stuff like that? I said, yeah, let's take a look at it. And it was off market. The dad had just died. The kids inherited, and they didn't want to have nothing to do with it. And we look at it. It was off the Evangeline Thruway in Lafayette behind the McDonald's. And we look at it. It was a 24 unit. And they wanted, I worked them down all the way to $420,000. We ended up buying it, it appraised for $730,000. So I automatically captured $300,000 in equity. Well, the cool part about the mobile home park, it had about 7, 8 empty spots, and I had been doing a bunch of direct-to-seller marketing, which I still do to this day. And I was getting a bunch of leads of mobile homes that wanted to sell their mobile homes to be moved, but I had no use for it, so I'd pass them up. So I put two and two together. I was like, shit, I can just move these trailers into this park. Because they were wanting to give them 10-year-old trailers they were willing to sell for $10,000. Ended up buying trailers for as cheap as even $1,500 is expensive to me. I think the most expensive one I paid was maybe $8,500. And I filled that whole park up. I took the rent from $7,200 to $15,600. When you're spending $8-10,000 on a trailer, let's just say the most expensive one I think I paid $8,000. Another $2,500 to move it. Another, say, $5,000 to fix it up. I'm all in $15,000, and I'm getting $850 a month in rent. Can you lose on that deal? No. But in 2010, when I was buying $150,000 to $200,000 houses to get what's the rule? 1% rule. Yeah, that's for amateurs. That's for people that don't know what the hell they're doing. Listen, guys, if I can't steal it legally, morally, and ethically, I ain't buying it. And that's one of y'all's biggest problems. Y'all overpay for shit. And I'm telling you that because I did that. You got to be a gangster. You want me to tell you what you want to hear or what you need to hear? You got to be able to slit throats and kiss babies all at the same time in this business. It does not mean you be unethical. But you have to understand that you have to buy super cheap to better make it long lasting in this business. All this stuff, you say, oh, yeah, I'll just buy it the 1% rule. I'm going to make it. Yeah, all those guys that bought it the 1% are hosed. They're out of the business. So I bought all those trailers super cheap, filled that park up. I was like, shit, this is great. Like, I can't lose on this deal. So I was like, let me go look for some more mobile home parks. Well, from 2017 up until
21?
No, up until today. Up until today, we bought 19 mobile home parks. We scaled up to roughly 700 units. I recently sold off 5 parks. We made a lot of money. We made a couple $1 million in the past 4 or 5 months. 1031 exchange that, ended up buying a cabin in Broken Bow, which we like Airbnbs also. We own a bunch of Airbnbs on the beach. Every time we make a big lick on something, we end up 1031 exchanging and buying something on the beach because it's, I call that legacy assets. I don't want to keep a mobile home park forever. You think I want to give a mobile home park to my kids 40 years from now? No.
They don't want them.
They're gonna just, yeah. So,
Real quick, so I'm glad you said that as far as the being a gangster about it. You also talk about unfair advantage and strategic advantage, right?
Yes.
So what does that look like in that space? So how do you define the difference?
Let's talk about that, because business is war, guys. Who here has ever read The Art of War by Sun Tzu? Okay, only 10% of the crowd. Every single person in this room needs to read The Art of War. It's good. Y'all can hear me, right? What is The Art of War about? In Harvard Business, they make every master's degree student read The Art of War, because business is what? It's war. Except we don't die, but we die financially, which sucks almost just as bad as bodily dying physically. I would tell you that emotional pain in business is just as tough as physical pain. It hurts more. It hurts longer. So if you're not thinking like a strategic business warrior in business, and you want to be nice, and you want to be fair, and you just want everybody to like you, you're going to go out of business. Mm-hmm. You want me to tell you what you want to hear or what you need to hear? Most of you guys are too nice. I'm not saying you need to be ugly, but you need to be very strategic. You have to figure out every unfair advantage of how you can cheat. You should probably write this down or just remember it. How you can cheat legally, morally, and ethically. I cheat every single day in business, legally, morally, and ethically. I don't snake anybody. I don't hurt anybody, but I figure out every advantage I can, and I stack up the odds in my favor. So let's take an example of that. What was an example of that? Me thinking about how I can buy those trailers that I know I'm getting them from my direct to seller marketing. I'm buying for $5 to $10 grand, and I'm hauling them into my park and setting them. I'm all in for 15, and I'm getting $850 a month. That's me cheating legally, morally, and ethically. Now you just have to figure out how you can apply that in everything you do in business. What's another way to cheat legally, morally, and ethically? Direct to seller marketing. Direct to seller marketing will make you a very rich man in real estate. I went from owning, $6-7 million in real estate to $45 million in like 5 years, with a $20 million net worth in 5 years, because of a few strategic advantages that I did. And I'm not telling you this to brag. I can tell you guys this because you're investors. Direct to seller marketing, raising private money, and building a brand. Those 3 things every one of you guys should be doing. Because if you're doing direct to seller marketing, you're going to get all the deals off market, and you're going to be able to capture equity. But if you're using your own money, you're going to hit a roadblock. And everything I'm telling you is what I did personally that I messed up on. I used my own money for the first $20 million in my portfolio. I used my own money. I almost went broke. I was real estate rich and cash poor. Who's did that before? Raise your hand. Yeah, that's another big mistake. You're being lazy. That's not cheating legally, morally, and ethically. You need to raise private capital. You stack your own cash and you use other people's money.
Hey, Chris, you talk about attracting that private money by being a good operator.
Yes.
So everything that you're describing, it all starts with the acquisition engine. There is no mobile home parks. There are no flips. Hell, even though any mechanic shops without generating those leads. So now as an operator, what does that acquisition stack looks like? So is it still direct mail? Is it still cold calling? Yeah, what does that look like to feed a beast that you built so far?
That's a great question. Yeah, we spend about, when things are really good right now, we're probably at about $55,000-$60,000 a month in direct mail. And I'm not saying you got to spend that. This is in all of them. I'm in 12 markets. with partners. So we spend, we do direct mail. I used to do a bunch of digital marketing. Digital marketing doesn't work anymore. The PPC, unless you're doing nationwide, that doesn't work. I used to do a bunch of Facebook ads. That doesn't work. So my main marketing is direct mail and SEO. Y'all know the difference between SEO and PPC?
Tell us.
Yeah. Tell it?
Tell us.
SEO is search engine optimization. That's where you get ranked, but it takes a long time to get to the ranking. Like I'm number 1 in Lafayette. I think I'm number 1 to 3 in Baton Rouge that I hover around depending on how much my girl's working on it. But PPC is paid ads where you have to pay for it. It's pay per click. And then you got Facebook ads. But PPC and Facebook do not work unless you're doing nationwide for PPC. Cold calling does work still, but it's a long cycle and it eats up a lot of your time. I don't have time to do that. If I want to be a professional real estate investor, I didn't get into real estate to just be a wholesaler. I'm always going to wholesale. I'm always going to flip because it's my fast money. Who here follows me? Raise your hand. Who here has ever heard me talk about fast, medium, and slow money? Okay. I had to coin this for myself. Look, I'm not that bright. I have to break things down for myself because nothing makes that much sense. When I listen to a bunch of guru shit on YouTube and it's just so much fake bullshit that I can't deal with it. So you're not going to get rich wholesaling flipping houses. You're not going to better quit your job and live a prosperous life by quitting your job and then buying a bunch of rental properties and trying to live off your passive income. You're going to get rich and wealthy by doing direct-to-seller marketing, buying at wholesale prices, keeping the best with a lot of equity in the best neighborhoods, and wholesaling and flipping the rest over a duration of time. And when I say a duration of time, I'm talking like 10 years. This is not a 1 to 2 year game. This is not a get rich quick game. This is a get rich for sure as long as you don't quit. I'm not that bright. I'm just too stupid to quit. And most of you guys are thinking that you got to be smart to do this. You just need to master the basics. Whoever seen Michael Jordan's documentary, The Last Dance, raise your hand. Every one of you guys should watch that. I got the pleasure of sitting next to Tim Grover, Michael Jordan's mentor, at a mastermind, at Grant Cardone's mastermind for 2 days and got to hang out with him. But I've read both his books, got to hang out and talk to him, and I watched that documentary. Why do you think, what did he say why Michael Jordan is the best in the country? Best in the world that's ever been. Why do you think that is? And he is better than LeBron James, by the way. I grew up watching him. Why do y'all think he's the best? He got kicked. He got cut from his varsity basketball in high school his sophomore year. How does a man that turns into Michael Jordan gets cut from varsity in sophomore year? And wasn't even I don't think he was the number 1 pick. Or was he? No, he wasn't the number 1 pick. He was the first round, but I don't think he was the number 1 pick. He was the number 2. Yeah. Tim Grover, his mentor, said Michael Jordan mastered the what? The basics. He did the basics so much. He said Michael Jordan mastered the front elbow. I forgot, I'm not a basketball guy, but the front pass. He did that millions of times. He did free throws millions of times. He practiced one move millions of times. Bruce Lee once said, "I don't fear the man that knows 10,000 moves. I fear the man that's done one move 10,000 times." So that tells you what? Mastery. You got to get to a point where you get to mastery. How do you get to mastery? Tens of thousands of reps. What happens when you get to tens of thousands of reps? You develop what? Pattern recognition. What is pattern recognition? That's a skill. That is the definition of a skill. Is pattern recognition. You have the skill of tying your shoe and you don't even have to think about it. Why? You've done it hundreds of thousands, millions of times. Pattern recognition. So what does this tell you in business and real estate? You start reverse engineering all this. You have to do shit tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of times without being able to quit. That's the game. But you got to master the basics. So let's break this down even more. What's the basics in real estate? Direct to seller marketing, raising private capital, and building a brand. That's all I do all day long. We spend $50,000 a month in direct mail. I get the best deals off market, direct to seller from people that are like super motivated that I can steal their properties legally, morally, and ethically, and they're okay with it. That's me what? Cheating legally, morally, and ethically. I built a brand from social media. I have 200,000 followers from putting out good quality content to help people. So people what? Know, like, and trust me. Once again, cheating legally, morally, and ethically, building a brand. So people trust me to do what?
Their money.
Give me their money. I've raised over $60 million in the past 5 years. I paid every penny back. You think I could have raised $60 million if I didn't do direct-to-seller marketing and became a good operator? You think I could have raised $60 million if I didn't have a brand? No. I'm not saying any of this is easy. I'm just giving you a track record of how I did it so you can reverse engineer what you want to do. You don't have to build a big portfolio like me. You don't have to go to the scale. That's just how I'm wired. But it gives you some perspective on what you need to do as an investor. And I'm going to tell you something else that a lot of people mess up on. I did it personally, and I see it all over the industry. I'm seeing it right now. I know big-time syndicators. You probably know them. If I tell you their name, I'm not going to tell you their name. I know everybody in the industry, by the way. I speak all over the country. I'm telling you, 90% of the shit you see on social media is bullshit. Social media is Hollywood. It's not real.
I want to spend a little bit more time on that, but first I want to see, Patti, how do you jump into this fire as an operator, right? So you said you liked a real estate and you got into it. So like, what's your role?
I was a realtor before he even got into real estate.
Okay.
Yeah, I was a realtor before he even got into real estate. I've always loved real estate. So when, I'm going to make him mad, but I really wanted to marry a builder, a custom home builder. That was my dream.
Oh,
He still hasn't done that yet. So,
and guess who's getting her builder's license right now?
I'm going to have to do
She's
it for
getting it right now.
myself. But anyway, I always loved real estate. So once he finally got into that realm, I was like, I can get into this. I was already a realtor. And so I love it. I love it all. I love showing houses. I love seeing houses. I love flipping houses. I love pretty much every part of it. So we built a team at this point where we can like both do it together. And that has really expanded our growth because we do it together now. Yeah. So
what's the dynamic? Like what do you drop off and don't touch anything that belongs to her, and what does she not touch that belongs to you? What's the cutoff?
I'm a predator, right? I look at it as I'm a predator. I go out and I hunt, and I kill, and I move on, and I give it to them. She likes to rehab that. I don't want to rehab a house. I want to find it. I want to chase it down. I want to kill it. And I want to give it to her. And it's a good team dynamic because she likes to go make it pretty and pay. Oh, Chris, you like this granite? You like this guy? I don't give a shit. I don't care. I'm done with. I'm on to the next deal. And it's a good dynamic, and it's helped us scale because she's in her vertical. I'm in my vertical. But I want you to hold that thought. But I want to give you guys two more good principles that are key. But I want to go back to this me and Patti's dynamic because it's super important for you guys to do bigger things in your life with your marital partner. But back to fast, medium, and slow money. Does anybody here not understand when I say what fast, medium, and slow money is in real estate? And just in general. Because you've been sold, I'm back to the social media, you've been sold a bill of goods from social media. How many times do you see people pick up their, I'm over here at the beach, it's because I'm living off my passive income because I bought, 10 billion doors and 100 million apartments and life is so good, man. I wonder what the poor people are doing. All that stupid shit, right? And then you think that you're going to buy, oh shit, I just got to buy a bunch of rental property. And where do most people start in real estate? Landlord. They want to be a landlord. And that is the biggest mistake you guys are going to make in real estate. You have no business being a landlord until you understand a few different key fundamental concepts. And for let's talk about fast, medium, and slow money. Fast money is what? Transactional money. That's your W-2 job. That's wholesaling. That's being a realtor. That's being a broker. That's owning a small business, and it transacts. The cash register hits every day, every week, or every month. You get paid on a 30-day basis or less. What is medium money? That's your what? That's your flipping. That's your contractors, or because they get paid on a 3 to 6 month basis. Or flippers, small land development deals. What is slow money? Slow money is what? Buy and hold. land development. You don't really make a whole lot of money on these bigger assets, these apartment complexes and mobile home parks. You don't make any money until you sell it. Y'all understand that? The real value in real estate investing, buy and hold, I bet y'all think it's what? Y'all think if you buy assets, you're going to make a bunch of what? Cash flow. That's all bullshit. You know what the most important thing about real estate is, buy and hold? Slow money, I call it. Let's talk about in the order of importance, not from bullshit, but from reality here. First and foremost, store of value to protect you against what? Inflation. Inflation. So you can get what? Appreciation. So first and foremost, the biggest benefits of real estate is appreciation. Number two is what? Depreciation. You will make more money from appreciation and depreciation from not paying taxes. I haven't paid taxes in 11 years. I make millions of dollars a year. I haven't paid taxes in 11 years, guys. Legally, morally, and ethically. Cost segregations, 1031 exchanges. Third, principal pay down. From paying down your rental properties. Then four, hopefully it cash flows. Does it mean you don't underwrite it to cash flow? Of course you underwrite it to cash flow. But do roofs go out? Do you have tenants that destroy your properties? Who here has had a tenant destroy their property? Raise your hand. Of course you have. So when people say I'm living off my cash flow, I just can't take you serious, right? You can eventually live off your cash flow if you get to a scale and you have enough units. But it takes a long time. You're talking about, it takes sometimes 4 or 5 years to stabilize a bigger asset when you're buying maybe a 40, 50, 60, 70 unit park or an apartment. So that's the four orders of importance of slow money buy and hold. Appreciation, depreciation, store value, then cash flow. If you want cash flow, you buy a business. You wholesale, you flip. So fast, medium, and slow money. Most people start off with slow money, buy and hold. Now let's talk about, I had to coin this too, I call it my progression chart. This is how I teach all of my students. There's a correct progression. When you go to school, do you start off learning algebra? No. You start off learning what? The ABCs, the 1, 2, 3s, addition, subtraction, the what? The basics. What's the basics in real estate? You got to buy what? Right. You make money when you what? When you buy. That is the absolute fundamentals. If you mess that shit up, it screws up everything else down the road. So what is elementary school in real estate? It's direct-to-seller marketing. Every one of you guys should be doing some kind of direct-to-seller marketing, whether that's agent outreach to get pocket listings, cold calling, direct mail, bandit signs. Dude, post on your social media. I get deals all the time on social media just from posting. Post, outflow, communicate. Elementary school is direct-to-seller marketing, which turns into wholesaling if you want to do wholesaling. But even if you don't want to wholesale, you should be doing direct-to-seller marketing if you're a landlord to pick up the best deals. That's how I build such a big net worth so fast, is from capturing equity from direct-to-seller marketing for motivated sellers. Whether that, and you can do that in any asset class, single-family homes, apartments, mobile home parks. Okay, so after you understand direct-to-seller marketing, maybe wholesaling, and the cool thing about wholesaling is if you do wholesaling, it forces you how to what? Negotiate. It forces you how to learn comps. It forces you how to understand the area. I'm going to be honest with you. I am not nice to wholesalers. They call me all the time, and they're like the worst, because it's the lowest barrier to entry. They don't get any training. My wife's like, she hears it from me all the time. They literally try to send me deals that are listed more than what the agent's listing it for on a weekly basis, trying to wholesale. It's terrible. What is wholesaling? You're buying at wholesale prices. How do you buy at wholesale prices? You find the what? The motivated seller. That's why you're doing direct-to-seller marketing, to find the motivated seller. I wrote a book about this called The Source of the Deal. Problems equals motivation equals a deal. Nobody's going to sell their property unless they have a problem. Every person I've ever bought, I say every person. I don't want you to sit there and think that you have to find a motivated seller in every case. There's 3 ways to make money in real estate. You can capture equity, which every one of you guys should be doing through direct-to-seller marketing. You can force equity through what? Construction. through the value add process of construction, being a GC, or you can time value. So you can capture value, create value through the construction process, or you can time value, which is a more sophisticated way to be an investor. That's your Grant Cardones, that's your Black Rocks, the guys that they have so much money they can't find a motivated seller. They're not going to find a motivated seller at a $200 million asset, but they base it off of data, statistics, migration patterns. How many people are moving to an area, so they know the job count's going up. Value should go up over time. So they'll buy it at full retail because they know it's going to go up in 5-10 years. That's a big boy game. But every one of you guys should be starting at capturing value. That's the lowest hanging fruit. Through motivated sellers, through direct-to-seller marketing. You cut your teeth on that. Maybe you get your GC license and you start you start creating that. My wife's about to get her GC license, and we're about to start building brand new products. But let me back up on. So those are 3 things. But then the next evolution of once you understand after elementary school is junior high. What's junior high? Now you know how to buy deals. You probably think it's flipping, but it's not. The next order of importance, logically, is raising private capital. Once you know how to find good deals, it's not hard to raise capital. If you're buying deals at 50, 60 cents on the dollar, it's not hard to raise capital because you bring it to your private money lender and dude, I'll lend on this. Shit, the comps are 250 and you have it under contract for 120 and it only needs 30 grand worth of work. Shit, I'll do this deal any day of the week. So buying at wholesale prices comes before raising capital and flipping. So if you're wholesaling elementary school, you're raising capital year 2 or 3. That's junior high. Now you're raising capital. Now you're ready to go to what? High school. High school is flipping. You know how many flippers get in the game and they quit within 2 years? I would say at least 80% of the game. Because why? They skip those 2 gradient scales of learning. They skip doing direct-to-seller marketing and finding deals off market. And they don't buy cheap enough, because they're buying the deals from a realtor or another wholesaler. And 2, they use their own money. So what happens? They end up doing 4 or 5 flips, and they got all their money on the streets, and then what happens? They freak out, and they end up quitting because they go broke because their deal's still on the market too long. So they don't know how to buy right. It's because they're not doing direct-to-seller marketing. They're not raising capital. So they're using their own money. So they're buying at paper-thin margins from a realtor, or they just find a deal and they don't know how to negotiate it down. They end up quitting. But if you understand direct-to-seller marketing, you're stealing deals legally, morally, and ethically. You're raising capital. Now you're flipping with none of your own money, but you're buying at wholesale prices so you can't lose. Then you do that for a couple of years. Now you have a what problem? You have a tax problem. You're making money. Now you're ready to evolve into the next level of buy and hold. That's the gradient scale. But everybody does it backwards. Unless you got a bunch of money, or you have a high-paying W-2 job, or you have a business that makes a lot of money, you have no business buying rental property. Because it's tough. It's a long game. So if you understand all this and you're flipping and you're wholesaling and you're making a bunch of money and you start having a tax problem, then start cherry picking from the best deals. And start keeping the best deals in your portfolio in the best areas, and that's what we did. Now there's a couple more layers after that. Now once you're in high school, you're flipping. Now you go to college and buy and hold. There's another layer, college I would call it, which is what comes after buy and hold. Who's the biggest, baddest people in real estate? You think they're flippers, wholesalers, or buy and hold? No.
Lenders.
They're developers. That's the next evolution. That's getting your master's degree, and that's where I'm at right now. We're developing now. We've been developing for about 3 years. That's where the big boys play. How do you think Donald Trump made his money? How do you think all these big guys? You go to any town in any area, who are the biggest players in real estate? You think they're wholesalers and flippers? No, they're developers. But they're raising capital. They know how to buy right. They understand the construction process. You see these layers? They understand all that. Not to say that they went through all that, but they understand all those layers. And they're developing. And then if you develop for, say, 5, 10, 20 years, you make a ton of money. What's the next layer after that? I'll call it Professor mode, or actually be legend mode. Who never loses in real estate? The bank. You become the bank, and that's where I want to be in 20 years. I want to lend to another Chris Rood, who's a good operator, all of my money, because I won't be able to lose because he knows how to buy right. That is your layers, theoretically, logically, in order of importance. If you do that all in the correct order, you're not going to lose in real estate. Or you have a less likelihood of losing. You still can lose, don't get me wrong. You can mess this up, but you can have a less likelihood of losing. Did you see how that makes sense? Logically. But everybody starts off, I'm just going to buy, oh shit, I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, buy assets. It made a lot of sense to me. I'm just going to buy a bunch of assets where they don't tell you that tenants destroy houses, termites happen, roofs leak, and ACs go out. So who here has bought a bunch of real estate and be like, oh shit, this thing ain't working out as great as I thought. It's not cash flowing like I thought. Raise your hand. Yeah. It's because you, for one, you probably didn't buy right. Two, you're using your own money. And three, you thought it was going to be your passive instrument that you could just sail off into sunset. Do you live off of your 401k? No, you don't live off your 401k. Buy and hold is a slow and steady game. It's a 10-year game. You're buying rental property to retire off of, not to live off of. Whatever passive cash flow you have off of that asset, keep it in a separate account for repairs. Live off your fast and medium money, your business, your W-2, your wholesaling. And play the long game. And have a vision. Get aligned on your goals of what you want to do and be intentional. And get your wife or your husband on board. And be okay going through the suck. Because there's going to be, we went through a suck. Who here has felt the suck the past 2 years in real estate? Yeah, it sucked. I burned through $750,000 in 2023 and 2024. It sucked. I had so many projects going. So back to what you were talking about with my wife. So the reason me and Patty crush it in real estate, I'll tell you another thing, is because we're diversified and we're aligned. If you were just a realtor, when 2022 hit, in 2023 when interest rates doubled, guess what? Or you were just a wholesaler or just a flipper, what happened to you? You got your ass handed to you. You got to look at real estate like a wheel. You got each a spoke. Each one of those spokes helps turn that wheel. If you only got one spoke and you're just a wholesaler, you're just a flipper, or you're just a realtor, you think that wheel turns fast enough when the market slows down? No. You got hammered. The reason me and Patty made it out of the recession, we're still alive, we're still kicking ass, is because we have a lot of irons in the fire. We have a lot of spokes in the wheel. I'm wholesaling in multiple markets. I'm flipping. I'm able to raise capital. She's a realtor. We're developers. I have other businesses that are vertically integrated into my real estate business. I have an HVAC company. I have a junk removal business because of all the tenants just, leaving all their shit in my units. You have to start thinking smarter. This game is not easy, and I don't want to. My wife always said, "Was like you too aggressive. You're almost too scary when you talk. You're probably scaring people away." This is what y'all need to hear. This shit is hard. If you're not willing to be brutally honest with yourself about how hard it is to build wealth, we're all in bondage here. We're all slaves to the almighty dollar. Every single one of us. You got to earn your right to be financially free. And this shit is super hard. And if you're not willing to buckle down and go through this shit like an animal, you got to be a savage. And push through for at least 10 years, skip it. Y'all need to leave, go back to your W-2 job, and you'll be comfortable for the rest of your life. And that's okay if that's what you want. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not built that way, and I'm speaking to that person that feels the same way.
Yeah, so as we wrap up, very last question. You gonna stick around and go to Catuso's?
Yeah.
We can. Yeah.
Babysitters?
Yeah, we good.
We're good.
Good. Okay. So what does the 2010 or the 2008 Chris Rood tell, or the 2008 Patty? What advice do y'all have for the 2024 Patty and Chris Rood, and and we'll wrap up. What's your advice? That first property, 2008, Patty, what advice?
I would just say just keep pushing, just keep doing the right thing, just put one step in front of the other. Even though it's hard, you just keep doing the right thing. We were always so ethical about every single thing we did that we never had any regrets because we went into it with the right heart and the right mind. And it was hard, but it gets easier. It does get easier.
Yeah, the longer you do it, it gets easier because you build the momentum.
Yeah.
But in real estate, it just takes a longer time. It's not like a business. There's some businesses that get into business and they start crushing within 1 to 2 years. But if some of you guys got into business in 2019, you kind of got at the peak pinnacle, right? And understanding cycles. Now we're coming out of a cycle. It's about to get good again, but you just can't. You gotta better ride the cycles and stay in it in the good times and the bad. If you're still here and you're still operating, you're a player. Give yourself some grace. Yes, it was hard. You probably lost a lot of money. You've been wanting to quit, but give yourself some grace. Man, you made it.
And you have to be willing to pivot.
Yes.
Every single time we struggled, we pivoted like really fast. Before we completely tanked, we pivoted first. You have to just take action and change your roadmap. You have to be open to that.
Shit's always changing. Always. You know, like for instance, you know, give you like, what's my new strategic advantage? Like, how have I pivoted? I've been doing these. Who here has been seeing me do all these trailer land home packages, right? I've been buying land and dropping double wides because it's brand new product, a lot of square footage, under 250,000. They sell within 30 days, and we got 7 of those going. Trailer land home package. That's why I got my dealership license. Y'all saw that I got my dealership license, so I can. That's another what? Cheating legally, morally, and ethically, so I can get them direct to the manufacturer. I'm buying them at cost, putting them on land, and selling them, making $60,000 to $70,000 a trailer. And it's easy. It's simple. It's 12 steps.
And it's short.
And it's short. It's a short time, and it's very systematic because it's the same process every time. But to answer your question, what would the 2000?
So what would the advice that the 2008 Chris would tell 2025?
Dude, get in the rooms. Get around players. Dude, if I told you how much money, y'all know how much money I spend in personal development? I've spent over $1 million in personal development. I gave Grant Cardone almost $300,000 to spend 2 years with him back in 2017 and 18. Sponsor his events, go to his masterminds, be around people. I'd go to masterminds. I would go. Personal development and masterminds is the key. How do you think I learned how to raise private capital? Being around people that have raised hundreds of millions of dollars. How do you think I learned about direct-to-seller marketing? Coaches and mentors. How do you think I learned about building a brand? Grant Cardone, right? Being around certain people. I still go to masterminds to this day. The real information is not in a bunch of free groups, and there's nothing wrong. I'm not downplaying the free groups that you guys. I still go to free groups, but you need to pay to be around. Like, if you're around high level players, whoever here has read Psycho Cybernetics, you know what I'm talking about. It's called the thermostat, right? If you're around people's thermostat that are at 90 and your thermostat's at 65, and you hang around them, your thermostat will go up to 80. I'll leave you guys with this. Last thing. One of your biggest things that's going to hold you back is your friends and family. I know it's not what you want to hear. Your friends and family are going to hold you back. If you start trying to build wealth and your friends and family are not trying to build wealth, do you think they're going to be supportive of you and be happy that you're becoming what, better than them? No. And it's a sad, sad truth. And I could not understand when I started doing really well in life why my friends and family weren't happy for me. Nobody's going to be happy for you when you go up. You better be your biggest cheerleader. This is why it's so important to be in rooms like this. If you come up to me and tell me, hey man, I made $1 million last year, Chris, I'm a high five. I say, man, that's freaking awesome. What are you doing? How can I learn? You go tell your friend, hey, I made $1 million last year. You say, why are you telling me that? Well, you think you're better than me now? Oh, you're a real estate investor. Oh, you're trying to build wealth. Oh, you're better than us now. That's the sad, sad, state of mind that a lot of people live in. So stay around people that are trying to build wealth. Get into the rooms. Guard your environment. And what does this ad say? Allies. I don't have my whole thing is no friends, only allies. I don't have any friends. If you don't give me value, or if I'm not giving you value, if you're not paying me, or if I'm not paying you, what's the other thing I say?
If you're not having sex.
I know that, but that's the last one. Oh, if you don't come from my body,
Yeah.
or if I don't come from your body, meaning my family, or if you're not having sex with me,
I ain't messing with
I ain't fucking with you. And you know what happens when you do that? You take all the bullshit out of your life. I hope that helps, guys.
All right, man. Everybody give it up, Stevie. Come on, Stevie.
Appreciate it.